Today we're going on to 9.4. We are learning about line graphs. I'm using a different setup in this video, that's why it's faced a different direction than all the other ones, and if it shakes, I'm sorry, it's not the most stable. Alright, line graphs. We have already done a ton of graphing, and this is just another way to show information on a graph, and I think you'll find it really easy. So, this is important. A line graph is a graph that uses line segments to show how data changes over time. It is a graph that uses line segments to show how data changes over time. If you look down here at this graph, it's the same idea as the X and Y graph we were using before, only we've connected the dots now with lines. That is the only difference with a line graph, is that we are connecting those points with lines. This continues to talk about what's called a scale and an interval. So, just so you know, if we look at this graph right here, we notice that we have temperature up and down our y-axis. The the scale they used was from 0 degrees to 54 degrees. They didn't go any higher than 54 because they didn't have a need. They didn't have a temperature that big. So that is the scale. Their interval is counting by twos, if you notice. 40, 42, 44, 46. So that interval is 2. That's not super important, but just so you know, that's what a scale and an interval are. Okay. This tells us, graph the data. Use the graph to determine the times between which the greatest temperature change occurred. So let's focus on the first part. Graph the data. We need to write what's in this table as ordered pairs. Now, notice we have time and temperature. They're a little bit different. They're still numbers. So we're just going to write the ordered pair just like we were on our other graphs. So we have 2 o'clock, 49, 3 o'clock, 47, 4 o'clock, 44, 5 o'clock, 45, 6 o'clock, 44, 7 o'clock, 46. Now that we have written out our ordered pairs, we can go ahead and graph them. They already did 1, 2, and 3 for us. So let's do our 4. They did 1, 2, 3. Let's do our 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, it was 44 degrees. So I'm going to come over to 4 o'clock and go up to 44. Then I need to connect those two lines. It's important in a line graph that we connect them. 5 o'clock, it was 45 degrees. Six o'clock, it was back down to 44. 7 o'clock, up to 46. We were able to take this table and put it into a line graph. I apologize we didn't talk about what this table meant. If you notice, it said recorded temperatures. They took the temperature at these different times of day, and this is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit during those times of day. So, it asked us to use the graph to determine the times between which the greatest temperature change occurred. Look at each line segment in the graph. Line segment would be from point to point, point to point. Find the line segment that shows the greatest change in temperature between 2 consecutive points. That means 2 points right in a row. So which one had the biggest change? Which one looks like it had the biggest jump? If you can't tell by looking at the graph, because it's kind of tricky. Come back up to this table. How many degrees are between 51 and 49? That's 2 degrees of change. 47 and 49 is also 2 degrees of change. 44, 45, 46, 47, that's 3 degrees. Between 44 and 45 is only 1. 45 and 44 is 1, and 44 to 46 is 2. Which one of those had the biggest change? That one right there, between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Let's look at our graph right here. Between 3 and 4. You can kind of tell by looking that it takes a lot steeper of a jump down from 3 to 4. So the greatest temperature change occurred between 3 and 4. Again, if you couldn't tell that just by looking at the graph, find the difference between each time, and then we were looking for that biggest one. Okay. Let's do this one. If you want to be working in your workbook along with me, I think that's a great idea. Jill used a rain gauge to collect data on the total rainfall during 6 days at her home in Miami. She read the amount of rain collected in the rain gauge each day and did not pour it out. Her data is shown in the table. Make a line graph to display Jill's data. Here is her table. We have the days of the week, Monday through Saturday, and how much rain was in the rain gauge that day in inches. So, step 1, write the pairs of data as ordered pairs. So they already took care of Monday for us. Then we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our step 2 is to choose a scale and an interval for the data. So if you notice, there's no graph right here. It's just a piece of graph paper. We can't leave it like this. We need to create our own graph, and we need to label it. So, I don't have a pencil right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and draw ourselves a graph here. Hopefully that's big enough. Okay, we need to label the horizontal and vertical axes. Horizontal and vertical. We are going to put the days of the week down here. So we need to write day or days. I got that from right there, days. And then I need to put my days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Oh good, I made my graph long enough. That takes care of that axis. Now I need to label this one and put numbers to it. That's our scale and interval, is labeling it and putting those numbers. So if I used days right here, what do you think I'm going to use right here? I'm going to do rainfall. Rainfall in inches. Let's write that. We need to put that it's inches on our label so that if we handed this to someone, they would know. Okay, it looks like we have numbers going from 2 all the way up to 9. So I think it's safe for us to just start with 0 and go up to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We could have just gone by 2s if we wanted to. That also works. Could have counted by 5s and just had 5 and 10. That is totally up to you. Because we're dealing with little numbers, I think it's easy to just do 0 to 10. All right, let's go ahead and graph now. On Monday, we were at 2 inches. Tuesday, we were at 2. Wednesday, we were up to 3. Thursday, up to 6. Friday, up to 8. And Saturday, up to 9. Now this needs to be a line graph. So in order for it to be a line graph, we need to connect the dots. Now we're ready to answer the questions down here. On which day was the total rainfall recorded the greatest? Which day had the most amount of rain? You can look here, you can look here. It looks like Saturday we had the most amount of rain. On which day did Jill record the greatest increase in rainfall collected from the previous day? So question 1 asked us, where was it the most? Where did we have the most rain? Question number 2 is asking us, between what 2 days did we get the most increase in rain? Where did we take that biggest jump? The last graph we looked at like the biggest decrease, but right now we're looking at an increase. Where did it take the biggest jump? It looks like from Wednesday to Thursday. So on Thursday she recorded the biggest jump. If you couldn't tell that from the graph, we can look here and see that there was 0 increase there, 1 inch increase there, 3 there, 2 there, and 1 there. Which day had the biggest increase? Thursday. Okay. I want to do one more with you before you do your homework. Let's do this one down here, the on your own one. All right. Use the table at the right for numbers 5 through 7. There they are. 5. Write the related number pairs for the plant height as ordered pairs. Let's write this as ordered pairs. 1, 20, 2, 20, 225. This is why I should use a pencil and why you should also use a pencil. 329 and 432. Simple, right? What scale and interval? You don't have to answer that question. That's just how we're going to set up our graph. So let's talk about it. Let's set up our graph. Let me quickly draw one here. Okay, on our x-axis, this is going to be our x, our months. Looks like we have 4 months, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on our y-axis, the vertical axis, we have our height in inches. Do not forget to write that it is height in inches. You have to label your graph, otherwise it won't make sense. So height in inches. Now, we start at 20. I'm not going to start my graph at 1 and start doing all these little marks up to 20, and our highest one is 32. So I'd have to go 32 times up, and I'm going to run out of space. So I'm going to, how do I want to do this? we're always going to start with 0, so make sure you start with 0. Then I think I'm going to count by tens. See, even Mrs. Butler can't decide what the best way is to make this graph. I think I'm going to do 5s actually. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. That'll get me way higher than I need, but that'll be fine. There we go. All right, now we can go ahead and graph it. 1 was at 20, 2 was at 25, 3 was at 29. There's not an exact spot for 29. We can go right there. And 4 was at 32. It's a line graph, so please make sure you connect those. All right. Use the graph to find between which 2 months the plant grew the most and the least. So we have the most and the least. Between months 1 and 2, we grew 5 inches. Between months 2 and 3, we grew 4 inches. And between 3 and 4, we grew 3 inches. So the most was between month 1 and 2, and the least was between month 3 and 4. All right. And we're not going to answer number 9. Hopefully that made sense to you. You understand how to make a graph. So if you go to your homework page, this is what you're going to do today. You're using this table to create a graph, a line graph, and then you're answering these questions. Don't do number 2. Don't do number 3. But make sure you label your graph. That's the most important part of today's lesson, is label your graph. You make the graph, answer these questions about the graph. The back page, you have a new graph, you're answering these 2 questions. You are not going to do number 3, number 4. You're not going to do number 5. And you're not going to do number 6. Don't worry about those ones. I just want you to focus on your graphing today. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions.